If you've been scrolling through endless specs sheets, watching video after video trying to decide whether a 17-inch laptop is worth the extra bulk, and you still feel stuck, this review is here to cut through the noise. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. I've spent the last week swapping this HP 2026 between my desk, the couch, and the coffee shop, and I'm going to walk you through exactly what that feels like in the real world, so you can decide if it's the right fit for you. First off, let's talk about why a 17-inch machine even exists in a market that seems obsessed with ultra-thin, ultra-light notebooks. The main promise is simple: give you a desktop-class experience that you can still move around when you need to. The HP 2026 delivers on that promise by packing a 17.3-inch Full HD panel, 32 GB of RAM, and a massive 2 TB SSD behind a chassis that looks more like a workstation than a traditional laptop. If you're the type of person who works with multiple spreadsheets, runs a few VMs, or wants to game on the go without lugging a monitor, the size and storage capacity are immediate wins. Performance-wise, the laptop runs on an Intel i5-1334U. It's a 10-thread processor built on the latest 13th Gen architecture, and while it's marketed as i5 class, the extra cores give it a surprising amount of headroom for multitasking. In everyday use, web browsing with 20 tabs open, editing a large PowerPoint deck while streaming music, the system feels snappy. When you fire up modern games like Shadow of the Tomb Raider or Fortnite at 1080p, you'll notice that the i5 can handle medium to high settings comfortably, but you'll start to feel the ceiling around ultra-high textures or ray tracing. That's not a surprise. The model comes without a dedicated GPU, relying on the integrated Intel Xe graphics. For indie titles, older games, and many esports titles, you'll get smooth frame rates, but if you're chasing 144 Hz on AAA releases, you'll need a laptop with a discrete GPU. Heat and fan noise are the two biggest practical concerns for any laptop that leans into sustained performance, and the HP 2026 is no exception. Under light workloads, the fan is barely audible, but once you push the CPU with a gaming session or a heavy rendering task, the fans kick into a higher gear. You'll hear a steady whir that's noticeable in a quiet room, but it never reaches the obnoxious screaming level you sometimes get on thin gaming laptops. Heat is managed reasonably well. The chassis stays warm to the touch around the palm rest, but it doesn't get hot enough to cause discomfort after an hour of play. The larger chassis helps dissipate heat better than a 15-inch counterpart, which is a practical benefit if you plan to game for longer stretches. Keyboard feel is another real-world factor that often gets glossed over in spec sheets. The HP 2026 uses a full-size, backlit keyboard with a decent travel distance, about 1.5 mm, so it feels familiar to anyone who's used a desktop mechanical board. The keys aren't clicky, which keeps the overall noise down, and the backlighting is uniform across the entire layout, making nighttime typing less of a guessing game. The fingerprint sensor sits conveniently on the power button, and it works reliably. No more fumbling with passwords when you're in a rush. Battery life is where the laptop's size starts to bite back. The 17.3-inch display draws more power than a typical 14-inch panel, and the i5's integrated graphics, while efficient, still need a solid energy budget for gaming. In my tests, a full charge gave me about 5 hours of mixed usage: email, document editing, and a bit of streaming. Push it into a gaming session, and you're looking at roughly 2 hours before the battery dips below 20%. If you expect to work unplugged all day, you'll need to keep the charger handy or consider a power bank that can handle the 65W input. For a desktop replacement, though, that's a trade-off many are willing to accept. Portability is a mixed bag. The machine weighs just under 6 pounds and measures about an inch thick. It's definitely not something you'll toss into a backpack and forget about, but it's still manageable for a daily commute if you're okay with a slightly larger bag. The downside is the footprint. You'll need a decent amount of desk space, and fitting it into a cramped coffee shop table can be tricky. If you value a truly portable experience, take it on a plane or use it in a cramped airline seat. This isn't the laptop for you. Now, let's talk price and value. The HP 2026 sits at a price point that positions it between a high-end 15-inch gaming laptop and a full desktop build with comparable specs. You're paying for the large screen, the massive SSD, and the convenience of a built-in fingerprint reader and AI tools like Copilot, plus a lifetime Office 365 subscription that eliminates recurring software fees. When you compare it to